Hello everyone. As you may or may not know, one of my favorite kinds of shows are competition shows. And one of my favorite competition shows is called Blown Away on Netflix. It's a glass blowing competition, and they make glass blowing look like such fun I've just always wanted to try it. So I Googled and I found a company called Ghost Pepper Glass that teaches a class called Taste of Glass Blowing, and I went ahead and did that class recently and filmed it for you all to enjoy. I hope you like it. Here it is.
Okay.
And then the stem and clear. The best spot to see is like right over here.
Okay. Let's go get set up over on this side. So it sounds like orange is going to be the dominant color in this, and then accents of yellow. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So mostly orange.
Okay. So you will be applying this color, but the reason I ask is I'll have you cook this fully in orange.
Okay.
And then I'm going to sprinkle the yellow on the table, and you'll really be in control of how much you add. So I'll coach you through it, but just know you can keep rolling in this if you, like the first pass, you don't feel like you get enough. Keep going.
Okay.
Okay. So if you stand right over my shoulder close and look below the head of the pipe there, you might see a little reflection. See that? Really close. Like an inch under the head of the pipe. You see a reflection?
Oh yeah, it's like water.
That's liquid in there. So I'm going to touch it down. You see how it's like winding over top of this pipe? So we call this gathering, but it really is spooling that liquid glass on the end, right? You can see it in those moments where I pause my turning. You can see it shift off center. So turning consistently is important, but you will forget. It's not the end of the world. All you have to do is get it, right?
I do the same.
That's part of my job is to keep you happy. You know, I'm the bowling alley bumpers. Like, I'm going to keep you from doing anything that extreme. But sure, yeah, if you're in here on your own, you could drip glass on the floor. All right, right-handed or left-handed?
Right.
Cool. So just like me, that left hand usually comes up about the halfway point. But anywhere where we don't have to support the weight, like this station here, sort of set it down and bring your hands back to comfort. Okay, your hands can be turned in there. Just inside the door there. Yep, that's good. Just keep it cooking. Now the reason we are already cooking is because the surface is going to cool the quickest, and we need the surface to be hot enough for this to stick.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So we want it fresh out of this furnace to go over there and fuse onto those bits of glass. So keep turning. Your left hand's going to come up a little bit closer. Yeah, right there. A little closer. Keep turning or flipping. I want you to pause your turning over that color and just smush it in. One more smush. Smush. And lift up. No turning in the bowl. Just smush. And pick up and rotate. Yeah. See how it's coating the surface that way? Exactly. Melt it in.
Yeah, so that's right.
Oh yeah, this stuff is really saturated. It's like juice concentrate. We're gonna melt this in before going to that yellow, because right now we just have a cold crust on the glass, relatively speaking. So that yellow, that room temperature yellow, is not going to stick to the relatively crunchy orange juice pie. But in the next few seconds, you're going to see that those orange chunks start to soften, melt into the surface. Yeah, see that happen. Yeah, it takes a minute. You picked warmer colors, which take a little longer. They're stiffer. They take a little more heat in them. But there it is, right? Now this time I want you to roll across the yellow. There. So you're going to roll across the table. And you can go back through it. You can change your angle to get some on the very tip here. Yep. That's good. Let's melt it in. Forward. Alright, we're going to swirl this up. Do like a pattern of like swirling and folding. I think it's really fun process-wise, but I don't want to go. Okay. That's cool. Yeah. Alright, so I'll turn for a second, giving you an opportunity to let go and sit down at the workbench. I'll bring this right back to you. Sit down right here. In front of the fan. The second tool from your kitchen is a pair of tweezers. I like to hold it like a remote control, kind of close to the hips. So you can see you have some speckles of color here. So you want to get in there and twist, stretch, do whatever you want. Okay, and that left hand is responsible for just turning yourself some glass. Do me a favor, after this twist, I want you to dunk those tweezer tips in the bucket of water behind you. And we'll do that every 3 or 4 moves just to prevent the tweezers
Starts to
from
feel
trying,
kind of hot.
yeah, just to prevent them from trying to stick to the glass, okay? What do you think about how that feels?
Honey.
Like honey? And it's changing viscosity pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, it's getting a bit thicker, yeah.
So a lot of folks who watch TV kind of wonder, like, how long do you have? Well, this is
Not
telling
very
you.
long, apparently, yeah.
It depends on how thick it is, how hot it is when you sit down. But yeah, I mean, you can. This is why we sit ourselves right in front of this reheating furnace, because you know, if you set it back way far away so that you're comfortable, by the time you get back to your bench, you're already cold. Right? You pull this down, I'll heat this up. You know, if once the weather cools a bit, I'd even move this bench up a few feet, because it's just one step and I'm sitting down, and you know, it just saves you a lot of time. Especially right now, you have me taking the heat, so you can be ready with your tool. If I don't have that, I have to, you know, get this on the other side of my body and find that tool, and it just, that 5 seconds is lost time. So if you're ever in here, you can come through here on like a weekday and see us just working on our own work. You'll see a different sort of pace and a slightly different setup, but you're using all the same tools and equipment we would use. See, making up techniques, figuring out how to play with this glass is just one part of the fun.
Starts to get hot pretty quick, so.
Right, yeah, it's a lot of radiant heat. What do you think? Is it twisted up enough? Want me to heat it up again?
Oh, I think it's good.
Okay, cool. So, not to worry, you know, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, but I will smooth that out back into a neutral shape before we start making a little pumpkin, or any shape, because we want to make sure you get something at least remotely symmetrical, and you're just not going to with this linear shape. But the next steps after I smooth this out will be to utilize the fact that this was built on a metal straw, basically. So we're going to start pushing air down the length of this pipe to inflate that blob on the end. So the more symmetrical it is when we start, the more symmetrical it is going to be when we blow it out. So just like rolling dough, you know, except I'm using this metal pipe as sort of a prosthetic to achieve that, because I can't touch the dough itself. And I always ask people if they're right or left-handed, but you can see that after 20 years, both my hands move in sync, applying the same amount of pressure, and all parts of my hand, the palm, kind of the crux between my thumb and my first finger. It's important to not get a lumpy shape here. Got a cool pattern in there. Get a little starter bubble in this, and blowing it up the rest of the way. So what do I mean by starter bubble? I'm going to blow as hard as I can into this pipe, trap the air pressure in with my thumb, and let that pressure slowly push its way into the center of this blob. You can already see some little bubbles floating in there, but you're going to see one push its way through the head of the pipe. I'm going to get close with that camera, get a good shot of it. There's one that's going to push everything else out of the way. It takes about 30 seconds to make itself known. There, you see it?
Yeah, you knew it was coming.
That's that starter bubble.
It's the weight reaction.
Yeah, it's there's so much back pressure from that mass of glass that it's got to push through that. And then once we get a cavity in there, just like blowing up a balloon, it takes less pressure to further inflate that balloon than it does to get it started. So I'm actually going to hand that responsibility off to you, but you're going to use that little pump sitting on the bench there, that little blood pressure pump. Next, inflate this bowl here to get some grips. Now that looks more like a star shape than a pumpkin, but it's just the setup to then further inflate and soften those grips into a pumpkin. Here's, and then drop your blob in here. So
Keep that.
pump on you. Drop our blob in here. Throw it up. Watch it kind of fill this bowl. Right. That's great. You can stop there. This is what we come out with. Okay. Now we're going to further inflate this at the bench. I'll be kind of turning. One thing I want to note for you is we're going to hold back here and allow it to swivel. I'll be sitting down and you'll be on this side. So I'm just going to do the turning you've been doing, and just nice and slow, Doug. Just like this pace, okay? Yep. See it blowing a little slower. You see it blowing up though?
Yeah.
I'm carving in this constriction line. These are two things that happen at the same time, so you'll often notice professionals work in teams or pairs. There's no other way to do both of these jobs at the same time. You can be a little more aggressive with that pump now that the glass is cooling. You're great. Yep. All right, pause there. You can set that pump down. Let's come over and appreciate how cool this looks. Now your orange looks red, your yellow looks orange. But you can see your pattern, right? I'm going to take a little teeth on the very bottom of this, and I'll have you sit down and get ready to just put a little flat spot at the bottom. This will be the top where I spend. Okay. So that's how these are designed. We can either the whole thing, or we can need a portion of it that's further from us. We can't just eat the top. So we kind of have to often work in a very linear way, taking that into consideration. Light touch. That's already nice. Come on off for a second and see if you like that. If you want it flatter, you can push again.
Okay.
Like it. Okay, cool. So she was running over to help Keith. And so all we have to do now is give her maybe a minute or so to prep that stem to be ready to put it together at the end. Meantime, we do what we call flat sheets. We're just using our own internal body clock to know, like, I'm going to spend about 5 seconds in here and maybe 10 seconds out of here, and yeah, just try to maintain that temperature where it's not so cold it's cracking, and it's not so hot that it's changing. She's gonna take that immediately right there, and then you can see the process. Usually this is happening while we're not paying attention. But Risa's adding a little bit of that green to just a solid blob of clear glass, and she's just gonna get it to the right heat. She's gonna stamp it in a similar mold to give it those ribs. And really it's all about our timing. We're gonna try to find these at the right heat. There you go. Okay. Alright, we're gonna head to that finishing station with that, but I don't want you to swing it like a bat. I just want you to tap the pipe right where my left thumb is pointing. Just follow through, not too hard. Perfect.
Okay, what's your doggy?
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah.
The
She likes to get in the way. I think she always thinks it'll mean we'll go home sooner. She can get, if she can screw us up enough, we'll just call it quits. Nice stretchiness here, but then also relying on how quickly it sets up to get those tools out of the way. So you can see the heat. Still in this area here where it's a little thicker, and then the thinner areas are already kind of setting up. Remember, this is still about 1,000 degrees, so that's why these colors are looking distorted from what we selected, because it still has a long way to cool down. So that's going to come out looking really vibrant, orange, yellow, green.
Voila, here's the final product. It's kind of cool with a lot of swirling colors in it. And it looks a lot more vibrant, like she said. And it was a lot of fun to make. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And I'll talk to you next time. Until then, Doug out.